Hi there. To be fair, there are no ghosts in adoption, but we're all afraid of ghosts, and there are some fears experienced by some adoptive families to address certain aspects of adoption. So I thought it is apt to name this video as Ghosts of Adoption or Fears of Adoption. What I'm going to be talking about are my experiences of bringing up two adoptive children at home and my observations of pre-adoption counseling that I conduct quite often. First fear many of us are afraid to address is opening up about the adoption to children. Many of us do not know if we should talk about it or not. If so, when do we start? If we start, what do we talk about? Question that we ought to address is, should we talk about adoption or not? Let me share my own personal experience. When we started the journey of adoption, I am of the view that I am not going to talk about adoption to my children. And let me also tell you how that view came about to be changed. Year 2000, when my wife and I were mandated that we attend a pre-adoption counseling at Houston, Texas, USA. There was an adult adoptee speaking to us who was adopted by Caucasian parents from Korea. She told us that no matter how hard you try, you will never ever be able to keep this as a secret. And she also said to us that when the children come to know at a later stage, the perception among them is that you have violated their trust. By end of that workshop, my decision was made that my wife and I are going to speak to our children about adoption. Second aspect, why we have to disclose about adoption to our children is that if you really look at the CARA adoption guidelines of 2017, one of the fundamental principles of adoption states that adoption ought to be done in the best interest of the child, which means, as uncomfortable as it may be to speak about adoption to your children, if it is going to help them, if it is going to be in their best interest, you ought to do it. My children tells me how much they appreciated about the fact that they know about adoption from their childhood. They also tells me how devastating it would have been if we had not told them about adoption. So I have a very personal experience from my own children, apart from other adult adoptees telling me how important it is. I'm absolutely convinced today that speaking about adoption ought to be done, how uncomfortable it may be. I have convinced you enough about opening up about adoption to our children. The next question would be, when do we start talking about adoption? What age is the right age to talk about adoption? You remember that adult adoptee that I was talking about? She told us that she never knew a day that she did not know about adoption. So we decided in my family that we are going to start at a very young age. My children came at the ages of 5 months and 10 months each. First child came at the age of 5 months and second child came at the age of 10 months. But when we came to the point of talking, we were not prepared. I expected my wife to do it and my wife expected me to do it. The point in short is this: as young as you may want to do it, but still even at that age, you still have this insecurity in you about not knowing how to start talking about adoption to such a young child. Now you decided to talk about adoption to your children and you decided to do it at a very young age. But as I told you, my wife and I didn't know how to start it. I was driving one day in the US and I heard a story on the radio and it went like this. mother and father wanted a baby but they didn't have a child, so they went to an adoption agency and asked for a child who has long black hair, brown eyes, chocolate skin color, clean set of teeth, all that. And this adoption agency brought this child with the green skin and yellow hair, and the colors goes on 2-3 times, and then they brought the child. So I thought I will come home and tell this story to my little one. So she was lying down next to me in the bed with her feet on my tummy, and I told her, honey, I want to tell you a story. She was all excited. So I told her, mommy and daddy wanted to make a baby, but we couldn't make a baby. So we went to an adoption agency and told them that we wanted a child with black long hair, brown eyes, clean set of teeth, chocolate brown skin color and all that. And then they brought this green skin baby with the yellow hair, and we said no, this is not the child. And then they suddenly brought a child with pink skin and white hair, and we said no. And then we played with the colors for a few times, and then we said, lastly they brought this beautiful child with a long black hair, brown eyes, chocolate skin, and she was looking so beautiful. And I could see from the side of my eye that my little one's eyes wide open. And she looks at me and she says, Daddy, was that me? Was that me? I said, yes, that was you. And mommy was so happy, daddy was so happy, and that's how we brought you home. And that is how we started our story. We were told in the pre-adoption workshop to leave the open-ended questions so that the child will come back to you and ask you questions. In our faith, that is in Christian faith, we have so many characters who were adopted. So we talk about these stories of adoption of different people in the Bible and leave the open-ended questions so that she would ask us questions. So that is how we started. But over a period of time, this colors becomes stale. One day, my older one asked me, Daddy, there's nobody in this world with pink skin and green hair. Then I knew that she has grown up. The point in short is this: even when you are talking about adoption, change your story, adjust your story, not lying, adjust your story according to the age of the child. Be age appropriate. For some reason you felt that your uncomfortable feelings to discuss about adoption were so strong that you couldn't discuss at a very young age, and you waited till the later years. And if you do open up, the danger is this: the child might ask you, what prompted you today that you chose to open it up to me today, not yesterday, not wait till tomorrow? Second question that they might think is this: if you have waited this long to tell me, all these years what you have done is simply pretension. What else are you hiding from me? The trust deficit is going to widen so wide, you would find it very difficult to close it or even to catch up. So starting young is the best option to go forward. The last aspect of speaking about adoption to our children is this: when does your child come to know about the total truth about adoption? Forget about this color story that I talked about. When did your child come to know exactly what had happened? I will tell a story of my older child. We relocated to India. One day we went to visit one of our friend who was about to have a baby in the hospital the next day. So we showed her and said, there is a baby inside the tummy of this auntie. The child is going to come out tomorrow. So she looks at me and says, Daddy, so after that she's going to be given away for adoption? We knew her concept of adoption was this: every human being on this earth is adopted. So we told her, no. When this mother gives birth to a baby tomorrow, she's going to keep her because she can take care of her. But there are some mommies who cannot take care of these babies, perhaps we'll give this child away for adoption. So the light bulbs went on. That brings into the topic of discussing the next fear of adoption, speaking about biological parents. Now that you started talking about adoption, you started it at a very young age. You have been adjusting the story according to her age, and she figured out that she has adoptive parents who are other than you. She will have plenty of questions, including some uncomfortable questions such as, can I go and see my biological parents? I want to tell you what I heard from the Korean adoptee in the US in my pre-adoption workshop. She told us, as she grew up, she told her Caucasian parents that she would like to visit her mother in Korea. Surprisingly, her adoptive parents told her that they're in full support of her decision to search for her biological parents. And they wanted to go with her. So she did find her mother in Korea. Her adoptive parents came along with her. When she did meet her mother, she introduced her adoptive parents to her biological mother, saying, "This is my mom, this is my dad." And she turns towards us and she tells us, "My mom and my dad were the ones, the reason for who I am today. They fed me when I was young, they changed my diapers, they took me to the doctors, they gave me vaccination, they took me to school, they helped me with the homework, they took me for piano practice, soccer practice. All kinds of things were done by them. That's mom, that's my dad. The one who gave me birth is my mother. My mother and my mom and dad, all of them are important." She also told us that this intense desire for her to search for her biological parents is nothing to do with what my adoptive parents did or did not do. It is all to do with my desire, nothing to do with what they did or what they did not. So the point in short is this: never be afraid of your child's desire to search for the biological parents. It is simply a chapter in her life book that she has to finish reading and turn it over so that there is a closure. Now, coming to my observations of what I notice in my adoption counseling is that many Indian families are not open to talk about adoption nor about biological parents. There is a great sense of insecurity. I've heard families tell me that they will completely shift their base from here to somewhere else. As I told you in the beginning, the Korean adoptee told us, irrespective of how hard you try it, it is going to come out someday. Harder you try it, harder it's going to get. So it is better that you open it up and let things play out as they're supposed to be. More transparent you are, more open you are to your children, they will respect you, they will appreciate you. But more closed you are, very likely they are going to search for sources that are not as good as you want them to be. Then it is a slippery slope that you cannot climb yourself up. I've had so many families who come to me and tell me that their children are struggling, and I know where the problem was. I hope this video is of some help to you if you are dealing with these fears. And if you have more questions, please write to me in the comment section below. I would be more than happy to answer them to you. If you like this video, give me a like. If you like to share it with somebody, please do share it. And if you have a comment or two, please do drop me a comment in the comment section below. Till then, goodbye.